All right, good morning, Mr. Perry Thompson. Good to see you again.
Yes, good morning. How are you today?
Very good, very good. It's snowing out in April in Winnipeg, Canada. And where are you?
I am in East Bethel, Minnesota, about an hour north of the Twin Cities, and it's cloudy and looking to rain today. So here we are, pinned down in the midst of a serious pandemic, and it's affording us some time to spend a little time through the magic of the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to be using this a lot more going forward because it just kind of makes sense. So we'll see another year, see what that brings us.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay, these are tough times. We're going to be locked in for a while.
Yeah.
All right, so we got together today to talk about, I think, lean culture. Was that your understanding?
Yeah, I thought we'd spend a little time addressing kind of what we're seeing, lean culture as it applies to construction. I think will be of interest to people.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Lean culture as it applies to construction. Well, let's talk about the difference between lean manufacturing and lean construction first, and then we can
Sure.
talk a little bit about lean culture. Lean manufacturing, as most people who are in the lean world know, applies to a manufacturing process or processes. And it's expanded from being processes to lean management, how to apply it to management. And most recently, I think the secret of lean has been figured out. It is about the people. It's not about the process necessarily. It's about building up people and developing people through the use of improving processes. So that's where a lot of the focus is. But the processes look different in manufacturing versus construction. So I have to say, getting into the lean construction world, I didn't necessarily see it the way I see it today. So let me tell you a little bit about how I see it today. Manufacturing is pretty easy. You've got a product going through several process steps. Maybe it's connected via an assembly line or carts moving product from one area to another under the same building mostly. And that product goes out the door finished. And within a day, to a week, or to a month, that product's completed. Lean construction is very different. I think instead of looking at it like, here's a product that we need to complete, the product is the building. We're going to finish a building, and the people have to get to the product and build it. So there's a big difference there. The other difference is that you've got 10 companies working at the same time on this particular building, and they're walking over each other many times, and they got maybe 10 different objectives. A good lean project has one objective: let's satisfy the client's needs, and everybody's aligned towards that, which is really good. But can you imagine trying to run a lean project in construction with 10 different companies that have maybe their own priorities, and you've got to align them and then worry about the people side as well? You don't have as much control. So I would figure lean construction is about 10 times more complicated than lean manufacturing. That's my guess.
I think it's more complicated for what you were describing because on two counts. One is I have really 10 plus companies coming together to build one product. In manufacturing, it's one company building one product with a tried and true process that they've cultivated over years. Now, there's process in construction, but there's the issue of every time a new project starts, the combination of players is always different. You don't have the same players you had from the last project. You have new PMs, new foremen, and so getting an established culture is critical. Now, in traditional construction, there's some ways that we deal with that. In lean construction, I would say the difference is that it's more mindful. It's addressing culture right at the start and trying to quantify, qualify, what is this culture going to be that we can all agree on and follow the cultural norms for this project. And to the point, it's serious enough that if people cannot align themselves with the lean culture that the team is looking for, they won't be on the project.
Wow. Well, it's almost like implementing lean every year or two. Every time you go from one project to another, you got to do it again.
That's right. You got to have a plan in place to implement a cultural education,
right?
And practice.
So you know, and the other thing I've noticed in doing some of the training with different companies is that they'll take some of their better people on a project to save another project. So halfway through one project, the team or the core members of the team that made it happen are moving to another project to save, I don't know, save the numbers, because things don't always go well everywhere.
That's correct. Sometimes we're just under constraints and pressures of the business unit itself, the general contractor's business unit or the sub-trade contractor's business unit. And yeah, sometimes now a lot of contracts write in that certain key people cannot be removed from the project, especially on larger ones, to try to avoid what you're talking about. Again, on a lean construction job, you don't see much of that because a lot of that stuff gets worked out early and upfront. And people, if you're new to it, it's a little like what's going on here? You know, why do you care about what I think? What do you mean I have to behave a certain way? I can't just be myself the way I've been the last 30 years. Well, depends. Maybe you can be if you're like this open-minded, experimental, creative thinking sort of individual. You'll probably fit right in. But if you tend to be rigid and set in your ways, you're probably going to struggle a little bit.
Okay, so now you're talking about the values of a lean construction leader. These are the values. You have to be open-minded.